are your parents relying on you for your retirement plan? All the monetary expenses come from us. Stress, stress, and stress. Even a little bit of money, that would help. So today, I'm going to share with you the strategies that you can do so. Hello everyone, this is Pauline. Welcome to Financial Wellness with Pauline. Today we're going to talk about the topic on building a secure retirement fund. Probably you are too young to think about retirement. I don't think it's ever too early to think about retirement. It's always feeling of too late to think about retirement. Now in the first place, what is retirement? A lot of times we want to build a retirement fund. So what inspired me to focus on helping individuals build secure retirement funds, especially for those who are in their 30s and 40s. In the 20s, I would think it is a little bit too early probably for some of you to think about retirement, but 30s, 40s. You have started working for some time, you've seen your parents about to retire, and your next question is, can my parents retire? Do they have sufficient retirement funds? I'm not sure about your parents, but mine definitely did not plan for his retirement. My dad is still around, he's 76 years old, but he never thought about retirement in his life. Although he think about retirement, but what is his retirement plan? That's me. I was his retirement plan, which means right now me and my sisters were actually giving him allowances to make sure that he has sufficient money to spend. How about you? Are you going to rely on your children for your retirement plan? And also, are your parents relying on you for your retirement plan? This is the part those in their 30s and 40s would face right now. The sandwich group. Yes, we have the elderly whom we need to take care of, and we have the young whom we need to take care of as well, including ourselves. So 3 generations, all the monetary expenses come from us. Stress, stress, and stress. Now, with all these stresses that come into play, how are we going to plan for our retirement? Still, we need to do that before it becomes too late. Even a little bit of money, that would help. So today, I'm going to share with you the strategies that you can do so. This is the case when we want to focus on building a secure and retirement fund. The first thing is this: always plan out your finances. Budgeting is really important, and you definitely need to pay yourself first. Always set aside 10% of your funds into compounding this money. What do I mean by compounding this money? This money that you are going to set aside in the 10% will go from your checking account to your savings account. You might say, Pauline, if I put aside that 10% into my savings account, it is not going to grow a lot because the interest rate is low. That's why you need to think of a way to increase the returns of your savings account. Well, how do I increase the returns of my savings account? Because if I were to have a higher return, it means a higher risk. So you would have heard of this term, high risk, high rewards. Frankly speaking, I don't really subscribe to that. You might think, why not? Because to me, the high risk just means the lower your knowledge, the higher your risk. Let me repeat. The lower your knowledge means the higher your risk, which means if you do not know anything about financial management, yes, probably the only way that you could do is to put aside in a fixed deposit that gives you 2 to 3% a year, and that 2 to 3% a year. Your question would be, does it beat inflation? What is inflation? Why is it that we cannot just put the money with a fixed deposit of 2 to 3% per year? Because the inflation is always at least a 4 to 5%. Now, if you are only getting back 2 to 3% and the inflation is 4 to 5%, basically the longer you save, the more you lose. That sounds hurting. Ouch, it hurts. Yeah. So this is the part which we need to understand. There's this thing called the rule of 72. Not sure whether you have heard of that. Rule of 72 just means what happens is with the inflation that you are going to have, you just divide using 72 Now, assuming the inflation is about 4%. Let's calculate it over here. Imagine the inflation is about 4%. Let's take a 72 divide by 4. What do you get? You get about 18. It means in 18 years time, whatever amount of money that you have right now, with an inflation of 4% per year, will become half. So right now, if you have $100 note, in 18 years time, okay, it will become half if the inflation is 4%. Now, what if the inflation is higher? It just means it takes a shorter time to become half. So it seems that we did not like inflation. Not true. Inflation is a natural thing that would happen. It's just that what we need to do to make sure that we have sufficient money for retirement is to make sure that our money can grow beyond that 4% inflation. This is where you need to have that knowledge to do so. So how do you get that knowledge? Well, there are many ways to do so. One of the ways is to get a mentor. Get a mentor to guide you, someone who has been there, done that, and he can guide you along how to do that in a low risk manner that suits your risk appetite. If you're a high risk person, if you can afford to do that, you can know how to do it. If you're a low risk person, you know your risk appetite, you know what are the ways to do it. So if you have the right mentor, he or she will be able to guide you accordingly. Now, if let's say you do not want to get a mentor, what other ways are there? You can attend courses. There are so many courses out there, online, offline, even in podcasts, which you can learn how to manage your money and also to listen to the different experts out there to share with you how you can grow your money. But I must caution one thing. If you were to listen via the YouTube or online, it is just a one-way download. What is that risk? That risk is no one is giving you a feedback on how well you are doing. No one is going to have a debrief or post-action review to let you know, am I doing the right thing and how do I improve? So the difference between a mentor and just attending online courses would be a mentor would be able to give you that feedback which you require. And as you fine-tune your strategies in growing your money, you will be able to know where you have gone wrong, learn from it, and quickly change your strategies and fine-tune it and do it even better. So it makes sense for us to engage a mentor. Well, some of you would say, but I do not want a mentor. I do not want to attend online courses. What are other methods? Books. Books does help. So you can read a book. There are many books out there that teach you the different kinds of money growth strategies, ranging from investing in the form of properties, shares, crypto, and also in ETFs. This is where many of you will find that it gets overwhelming, right? Yes, you might have read those books, but putting them into action may be another issue. Knowledge is one thing, putting them into action is another. So if you want to be able to put that into action, generally, you need to know someone who can give you the right methodology to put them into action. Well, you can do some trial and error, but I would say because these are our hard-earned savings, frankly speaking, I would rather invest in my knowledge, invest in a mentor to get that kind of feedback. Well, it's your choice. So there are different ways, ranging from the passive method of reading a book, learning online or offline, go for physical classes, or getting a mentor to guide you. Next one, what advice would you give someone starting their retirement planning late? Well, how late is late? I would say it's better late than never. There's never too late for you to start to plan for your retirement, regardless whether you are 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s. Of course, the best is to start early because there's always this saying, the eighth wonder of the world is compound return. And compound return would work when you have my favorite four-letter word called TIME, time. Now, Mr. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful value investors or investors in the world, he made use of time to compound his return, and that is really significant. So if you want to start to invest and you want to grow your savings for your retirement, what you need to do is make use of time to have that compounding effect. Next question. For individuals earning a low income, saving for retirement feels impossible. What are the first steps for you to actually start? This is where I would always say, if you want to be able to really build up your retirement funds, one of the key things is you really need to be able to grow your money. So the first step is definitely cut down on your expenses. So I said in my previous episode that in order for you to have the money to save up for your retirement and subsequently you can invest them, is to increase your income and decrease your expenses. So the easier thing probably to do right now is decrease your expenses. Now build up a budget plan. Next round, I would share with you how you can build up a budget plan. Now if you want to find out how you can build up a budget plan, it is not that difficult. All you need to do is make sure you allocate them into the different jars. For example, first 10%, pay yourself first. Next, 40 to 50% or even up to 60% on your necessities. So this is where you'll find your utilities, your rent, and your food, your transport. These are the necessities. Then after that, the next 10% maybe on your play, some entertainment for yourself, watching a movie, or maybe you like to do your manicure, pedicure for ladies, or some massage or spa. Then after that, the next 5-10% maybe for your education. I always encourage people to put aside money for their education. Always learn, because you are the most important asset. Learn it yourself, find a mentor, read a book. So this is where you invest in yourself so that you can grow your money. And the next 5-10%, that jar, is to pay it forward. Use it for charity. You can do that. Now, if you find that there are certain things that you really need the money for necessity, that means you really right now your income is not so high and you can't really just put 50 to 60% on your necessity, well, then probably some sacrifices need to be done. For example, you can take some of your money from your play. You can take some money from probably education or even charity, right? So this is where you can adjust accordingly. Plan out your budget. Do it on a monthly basis or a weekly basis to even a daily basis. And once you have a budget, what you can do in lowering down your expenses is track your expenses. It is so important for you to track your expenses. I know this is going to be a very tedious job, but you know what is the beautiful thing right now in this era is that we have apps to help us. Download some apps. There are apps to help you to track your expenses. So what you could do is track your expenses and see where are what we call the little getaways. What do I mean the little getaways? Probably you spend a little bit too much on coffee. Instead of spending like $5 for a cup of coffee, maybe you can bring it down to $1 a day by using substitutes. You can substitute it with your own brewed coffee or some cheaper alternative. Then next one, probably transport. Instead of you getting Uber, what you might do is you might go for the train, or you might walk even more, or you cycle. This is where you can bring down your expenses in your transportation. So find substitutes. These are ways which you can lower down your expenses. Next question. With inflation rising and cost of living increasing, what are the top 3 strategies for protecting and growing retirement savings on a limited budget? This is something that I would like to share with you. 3 strategies which you can do, and they are really effective regardless which state, which country you are from. First, establish an emergency fund. I mentioned that in my previous series and previous episodes. Emergency funds are really important. Prioritize building an emergency fund that covers 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. This fund can protect you from unexpected expenses, allowing you to avoid dipping into your retirement savings. So consider using a higher savings account if you do not know how to invest. This is where you need to know to establish an emergency fund. Before you start to invest, the money that you have saved up, make sure you have 3 to 6 months of your emergency fund set aside. Second, maximize contributions to retirement accounts. Contribute to tax-advantaged retirement accounts like your 401k or IRA. If your employer offers a match, aim to contribute at least enough to get a full match, as this is essentially free money. Who doesn't like free money, right? So if you have room in your budget, consider increasing contributions gradually, especially during raises or bonuses. So that's where you need to plan it out. When you have your bonuses, I believe many of you would say, I would like to buy a new bag, go for my travels, and have some fun. Well, you might want to have this thing called delayed gratifications, where you delay a little bit of your enjoyment. Put them into your savings and your retirement funds first. As you save it over time, you would be able to use your savings in future to use that for holidays, indulgence, as well as your enjoyment. Next, number 3, invest for growth with low-cost options. So just now I mentioned about investing. Well, you can get a mentor to learn investing as well. But the next thing you could do is look into low-cost index funds, or maybe the ETFs. ETFs are termed as the exchange-traded funds that can provide a diversified exposure to the stock market. Now, these options typically have lower fees compared to actively managed funds, and it's wise to just focus on a balanced asset allocation based on your risk tolerance and your investment timeline. The key to it is, please make sure that you have the right knowledge to do so. If you do not have, get a professional to help you. You can always get a financial advisor to help you to know how to invest and which other funds to go into. So there are many ways, even if you have limited funds, to start investing, to start growing your retirement funds. The key is to start right now. NOW. If you like this episode, share, subscribe, and like my channel. Remember, financial wellness with Pauline.